Matt, I want to ask you about the fluid filtration products. What kind of fluid filtration products does Fram offer?
The main ones there, Mark, are fuel, which is it's very important to have clean fuel going through, especially through injectors, which run on very fine tolerances.
Mm-hmm.
So very important to have it, whether it's diesel or normal fuel, which when it's passing through those injectors, it's not contaminated. So those injectors otherwise get clogged up and it can cause greater issues with the engine. The other type is the oil filtration. Once again, a lot of testing goes into oil filtration. The oil is contaminated oil normally is part of the testing regime, which is passed through a filter. So it keeps on passing through that filter to a certain level of pressure is reached on the test parameters. So that determines how effective that filter is over that test period. So testing is very paramount, especially when it comes down to fuel and oil for vehicles.
What about air filtration?
Well, air filtration, especially in Australia, is very important in the terms of dust contamination in our air. A lot of silicate is in our soil, which through dust storms or just normal environmental factors is in the air. So that air is actually passing through into the engine through the filter. So it's very important that those particles of dust is filtered out in the air before it actually reaches into the actual engine itself.
Is that right?
Yeah, Australia is very tough on engines in terms of because of the contamination in the air, especially when you get outside of cities and you're doing long distance travel.
Is that something to do with the weather as well and the winds, or excuse my ignorance, but?
Oh, absolutely. As we can see in certain days, with very high wind factors, which then disturb the soil, which the air particles get into the air, which usually is the large portion of that is dust particles, which is definitely an enemy of engines.
So is that the case in other countries as well, or is it less of an issue?
It's not as a major issue as it is in Australia, especially being in Adelaide. We're very close to being near the Simpson Desert. So a lot of those particles are in the air where not all environments are like that. It really comes down for horses for courses in certain environments.
That's very interesting. That's most interesting. Matt, it's interesting. You mentioned the impact on the engine, which obviously is important, but there's nothing more important than the family. So what about the impact in terms of the cabin?
Cabin filters are really important actually, Mark, and it's one of those things that's sometimes in services which are overlooked. They're a little difficult to get to on certain vehicles because you have to get in through the glove box to get them, but very important to replace them during the service intervals. A good cabin filter will remove 98% dust particles, which are larger than about 10 microns, which get into the cabin. So that's the air that your family are breathing whilst you're driving, and it also covers the windshield inside the actual vehicle as well, which is a very important safety factor, Mark, for having clear visibility in the windshield.